Hello artists, this is Mr. David. This is our first video and I'm going to go over some materials and how to take care of them, how to use them, how to set them up in your space, and what kind of space you need, and we'll go from there. First of all, I'm going to talk about space. So I'm in my kitchen and I've set up a little table in front of a nice window with lots of light. This little table, I can get paint on it and it's easily washable, and you could do your dining room table or anywhere you're able to clean up and your parents say it's okay. And it would be nice if your parents could paint with you. So a good space where you have enough room to set up and it's cleanable. We got paint set with a brush that came in the paint set, and then there's the paper. And now I'm going to talk about each thing. So the watercolor paint is like a semi-moist paint, so if you touch it, it's kind of tacky and it has like a stick to it. So the paint isn't completely dry. That's called moist watercolor. So that's the set, and I've actually used mine a little bit already because I did a little practice piece. And then inside comes the brush. And the brush is kind of small, but it's good for our purposes. It has nice bristles. And the next thing we got is, and I have all the same materials you have, so we're going to be using the same materials, is watercolor paper. It's pretty good watercolor paper. Also, paper towel. So if you have paper towel, it's great. If you don't, we can work around that too, but I think most people have either paper towel or tissue, but anything to dab your brush on so we dry our brush when we're working. So paper towel, and then we'll need 2 containers. And I have 2 containers just like we had at school. I know some of you have painted with me before, and some of you are new to this, so that's why I'm going over all these materials. But we'll need 2. One will be for cleaning your brush, and one will be for fresh, clear water. I want us to be able to tape off areas so that we have nice clean lines on our watercolor. So the tape I have and the tape I used is masking tape. And I also have a hair dryer. The hair dryer is to help us move along, because I'm also going to show you how to tape down your paper so that your paper doesn't completely wrinkle. So we'll be working on that too. So that's really for the materials. We have paint, and we'll talk about how to use those. We have brush, we'll work on using that. We talked a little bit about the paper and what we're going to do with that. 2 water containers, and paper towel, and tape. So that's our materials list for now. So how we set up our area is that we take our water and we go fill our water. I'm not going to do that right now because I just want to show you how to set up your area. We're going to have our paper towel, our water above the paper towel. We'll have the paper, of course, closest to us so that we can work on our project. We're going to have the art palette with our colors and then our area for mixing set up on this side, sort of on the left, and we're going to have the mixing area closest to us so that we don't have to reach over. So what happens is then we have our brush, we have our water for cleaning, then we have an area to dry the brush, so that's why we have a paper towel next, and then we can reach over for paint, and then mix, so we can use it, mix, and you can pull it closer if you need to. So I have my dirty water for cleaning my brush, I have my clean water for dipping into the paint. We mix here on the palette, and then we use the color on the paper. And then sometimes, with a lot of our techniques, we're going to use clean water. So we'll clean our brush, we'll get some clean water, and we'll put it on here, and then we get our paint. So see how that works? We have everything in sort of an order, so we don't splash paint that we don't want splashed on our paper. And that's our setup. I want you to take your time and cut, and I'll think we got like 10 sheets of this paper. Cut about 5 of them in half. So what we're going to do for this week is take your paper and fold it lengthwise in half, kind of like a greeting card. We're just going to cut them in half. So I'm going to take 5 of my sheets of paper and cut them in half, because we're going to work pretty small because our brush is kind of small. So the way we'll work is, so when we do washes and things, which we'll talk about and I'll show you how to do, we can use our tiny brush. So 5 pieces of watercolor paper in half. And we have to use the watercolor paper that we were given because it's a special kind of paper for watercoloring. We'll talk later about how to tape this down so when we do our projects, our paper doesn't wrinkle up. Then next, we're going to talk about cleanup. So we've done our work, we've done our painting, we've rinsed out our brush nice and clean. We're going to rinse it in the dirty water and then in the clean water, so it's nice and clean. And this paint is non-toxic, so if you get it on your hands or on your person, it's not going to hurt you. We're going to dry off our brush nice and well. We're going to dump out the water. We're going to rinse the water containers, and then we're going to wipe them out with the paper towel. You can keep the paper towel or you can throw it away. Mostly we like to keep it, especially if it's not too dirty. And then we'll put those aside. And then with your paint palette, sometimes we've got a lot of paint in our palette that if it's super wet, we don't want to close this up, because then what will happen is all of our mixed paint will fall into our fresh paint, and we don't want to get a lot of messy paint on top of our fresh paint. So for this week, I would like for you to practice your setup. I'd like for you to cut your paper in half, setting up your art area so that your best setup to paint will have our water, paper towel, our paint, our brush, and our paper for working. So I'd like for you to set up your area, take a picture of your area, send it to your teacher. I will see you next week.